What is up guys, Jarv here, back today with another Outriders video. In our video today, we're taking a look at absolutely every legendary weapon inside the Outriders demo. So if you haven't been able to get your hands on them, then this video will show you what they can do, as well as the awesome mods and perks they have available. So if you want to find out more, be sure to stick around and enjoy the video. If you do enjoy the video, be sure to leave a rating and a comment down below. That super helps me out here on the channel. And if you're new here, I want to keep up to date with more Outriders content, then be sure to hit subscribe as well. But without further delay guys, let's jump into the video. Now, since the launch of the Outriders demo, huge parts of the community have been farming out these incredible legendary weapons. In total, there are 46 in the final game, with 10 of those being available in this demo. Now, if you're struggling to get your hands on these amazing weapons, I did make a video recently covering the best methods to farm legendary weapons. If you haven't checked that out already, I'll leave the link to that down in the video description. Hopefully, this can improve your chances of getting one. Now, huge shout out to Wheat Ghost over on Twitter and my good friend Griff Plays, who kindly shared some of the footage of these weapons with me, and I'll leave the link to either their Twitter or YouTube channel down in the video description below. Now, with that all being said, it's time to jump into these amazing weapons, and the first one is called Aerie Master. This is a legendary pump action shotgun. Now, all these legendary weapons have two mods attached. Now, the first one on this is called Weightlessness, and this is where shots inflict Time Rift on enemies. Time Rift raises the enemy into the air for 5 seconds, and this is followed up by Critical Point, which increases the chance of scoring a critical shot by 15%. Now, one thing that's quickly noticeable about all these legendary weapons is they are very unique and ornate compared to any other weapon available in the game. Now, with this shotgun in particular, the range on it is absolutely insane. Whilst it's a shotgun which is normally used for close quarters combat, as you can see from some of the footage, you can get some pretty rangy kills with this particular weapon. Now, the key thing to remember with Outriders is that kills grant you health, and having a shotgun like this that deals insane amounts of damage at medium to close range allows you to get in amongst the battle, swiftly take those enemies out, and regain large chunks of your health. Now, next up we have Golem's Limb. This is another legendary pump action shotgun, and once again there are two mods on this weapon. One of them is called Golem Rising, and killing shots grant you a protective golem effect for 3 seconds, and it is followed up by Vampire, where killing shots grant 15% skill leech boost for 20 seconds. Now, these two mods have great synergy together. Not only does the Golem effect give you damage resistance, but also the skill leech boost will allow you to get your abilities up more often in the thick of battle. Now, with Golem Rising in particular, this allows other classes inside the game to experience some devastator abilities. Having that protective Golem effect for 3 seconds, especially on other classes, things like the Trickster and the Pyromancer, opens up more possibilities to synergize class abilities with weapon and armor mods too. Now, when compared to Aerie Master, this has a slower rate of fire, but more rounds in the clip, which will be perfect when you come face to face with elites and bosses, as you'll have a larger overall damage output. So that wraps up all the legendary shotguns available in the demo. Next up, we have the Grim Marrow. This is a legendary light machine gun. Now, this fires at 545 rounds per minute and has 80 rounds in the clip. Now, the two mods on this weapon are Singularity, where killing shots create an anomaly singularity. When destroyed, the singularity explodes, dealing 450 damage to enemies within a 6.5 meter radius. And this is followed up by Improved Stiffening, where shots inflict slow on enemies, and it has a cooldown of 4 seconds. Now, as things currently stand, this weapon is slightly bugged, with some of these mods not proccing as they're intended to. But with that being said, hopefully this can be resolved prior to the launch of the final game. Now, by reviewing the footage, we can see that Singularity isn't proccing at all throughout this gameplay, but Improved Stiffening is on a very regular basis. This once again crosses the line between classes, allowing the slow ability from the Trickster to be utilized on the other classes in the game. This gameplay is on a Pyromancer, so we get a good opportunity to see how you can combine these abilities whilst out in the battlefield. Now, a great thing to remember is by dismantling weapons, you are granted the mods attached to them. And in the final version of the game, when crafting is available, you will be able to apply one of those mods to a weapon as part of the crafting table. This once again is great for mixing and matching mods, but also combining them with class abilities across the 4 classes in the game. Now, our next weapon is Rarog's Gaze. This is a legendary rifle. Now, the two mods on this weapon are Weakness Trap and Burning Bullets. Now, Weakening Trap allows shots to cause explosions, dealing 46 damage and inflicting weakness on enemies within a 5 meter radius of the target, and this has a cooldown of 3 seconds. Now, And for burning bullets, this allows shots to inflict burn on enemies, and this has a cooldown of 8 seconds. And once again, both of these mods have great synergy. If you're on a Pyromancer, then it means you'll have even more flames out on the battlefield to take out your targets. But once again, if you're on any of the other classes, it allows you to cross that line between classes and utilize some of those Pyromancer abilities. Now, whilst this is a legendary rifle, it's not a sniper rifle, so it doesn't have a long zoom scope. In fact, it's more like a battle rifle, allowing you to fire it from the hip, providing a very low range zoom when you aim down sights. Now overall, this is probably one of the best looking legendary weapons that we have inside the Outriders demo. If you managed to get your hands on one, be sure to let me know down in the comments below. Now next up we have one of the early favourites in the demo, and this is called the Thunderbird. This is a legendary assault rifle. This has 40 rounds in the clip and fires at 600 rounds per minute. Now the two unique mods on this weapon are Ultimate Storm Whip and Strigger. Now Ultimate Storm Whip is where shots bring down lightning on an enemy, dealing 46 damage, and Strigger is where 30% of critical damage is returned to you as health. Now the overall crit damage on this weapon is relatively low at just 15, however the regular lightning bolts really make up for it. Dealing 46 damage to combatants in the area is excellent for clearing adds, and whilst the damage output on this weapon is relatively low, it does allow you to get continuous amounts of health back over time. Now all in all, this is a very fun weapon to use, and some of these mods can be very strong when combined with other mods available on some of the other weapons in this video. So if you like to rain thunder down on your enemies, be sure to farm out a Thunderbird and have a little bit of fun. Now next up we have the Voodoo Matchmaker, another legendary assault rifle. This one has 40 rounds in the clip and is also 600 rounds per minute. Now as you can see, it's a very unique looking weapon, and with that in mind we also have some unique mods on this weapon too. One of them is called Ultimate Damage Link, and this is where shots link up to 2 enemies, sharing 30% of their weapon damage and 10% of their anomaly damage dealt. And the final perk is called Vulnerability Bullets. This is where shots inflict vulnerable on their enemies and has a cooldown of 8 seconds. Now Ultimate Damage Link makes this a great ad clearing weapon. Being able to chain damage between combatants out on the battlefield makes for clearing adds an easy task. And it also makes for an excellent support weapon too, as inflicting vulnerable on your enemies will be a huge benefit to you and your squad. Now for the Vulnerability Bullets mod specifically, this is a tier 1 mod, so when crafting is available in the final version of the game, you can quickly switch this out to something a little bit more deadly, creating a potential perfect pairing with Ultimate Damage Link. So that wraps up all the assault rifles available in the Outriders demo. Next up we have a pair of legendary pistols, and these are called the Torment Agony. Now these have 40 rounds in the clip and fire at 750 rounds per minute. Now the two mods on these weapons are called Judgment Enforcer and Clip Combustion. Now with Judgment Enforcer, shots mark enemies, and when reloading deal 5 times your weapon's damage to every marked enemy. Marks are removed however when you change your weapon. And for Clip Combustion, this is where reloading the weapon creates a shockwave, dealing 25 damage to enemies within a 5-meter radius. Now as you can see by the footage playing out from Griff Plays right now, these are akimbo pistols, so you have one in each hand. Now these pistols are an absolute monster and have no problem with clearing massive groups of adds, as well as taking out bosses too. Now Judgment Enforcer, where shots mark enemies, is a very powerful perk, especially when you combine that with the Pyromancer, who has a healing mechanic where they recover health whenever enemies are marked by your skills and are killed. So if you can mark enemies using skills as well as using your weapon, then you have multiple sources to recover your health whilst out on the battlefield. Now Griff will be posting a more in-depth look at these pistols, so if you want to check it out, be sure to check out his video. I'll leave the link to that down in the video description below. Next up we have the Iceberg. This is a legendary bolt action rifle. This one has 5 in the clip and fires at 75 rounds per minute. Now a very unique looking weapon, and also some very unique looking perks. One of those is called Winter Blast, and this is where critical shots create a icy blast that inflicts freeze on enemies within a 4-meter radius. And the other perk, a tier 2 perk, this is called Icebreaker, and this is where killing shots against frozen enemies make them explode, dealing 229 damage. Now this weapon handles more like a conventional sniper rifle, as it has a long range scope. But with that being said, it makes it excellent for clearing groups of adds, especially if they're bunched up together. One precision kill can freeze the majority of them, and if you can defeat them with a follow-up round, the Ice Blast should be enough to take them all out. So as you can see there, by taking out that target, that throws the enemy behind cover, making him an easy finish before moving on to the next area. All in all, a very unique and fun weapon to use, and will pair perfectly with something like the Technomancer, one of the other support classes in the game. Now next up we have our first submachine gun, and this is called the Migraine. And this is a legendary submachine gun which has 50 rounds in the clip and fires at 857 rounds per minute. Now as for the mods on this weapon, one is called Ultimate Bleeding Rounds, and this is where shots inflict bleed on enemies, and the final mod is called Bombs Ahead, and killing shots turn enemies into anomaly bombs, dealing 153 damage, and this has a cooldown of 3 seconds. Now whilst this is one of the most interesting looking weapons we've seen so far in Outriders, it's most definitely one of the most lethal, especially when up in close quarters. It pairs perfectly with the Trickster, who likes to get up and in your face, and as you can see, this is dealing incredible amounts of damage to all these combatants, taking them out with very little effort. Bleeding rounds will be excellent for those tankier targets, things like elites and bosses, and Bombs Ahead will come in clutch when you have groups of ads grouped together. Now this is most definitely one of those weapons that will keep you in the action for longer, allowing you to dispatch enemies in the shortest time possible, keeping you amongst the fray when it matters the most. Now the final weapon in our video today is called Amber Vault. This is a legendary double gun. This was the first legendary that I actually got. It's got 60 rounds in the clip and fires at 750 rounds per minute. Once again, it has some pretty incredible mods. One is called Killing Spree. This is where killing shots increase damage by 30% for this weapon for 30 seconds. And bonus deteriorates with time and stacks up to 5 kills. And finally, we have Brain Eater, and this is where critical shots do not consume ammo. Now, out of all the legendary weapons that I've got so far, this is one of the strongest. Killing Spree allows you to take out low tier ads with relative ease, but Brain Eater comes in clutch against elites and bosses, allowing you to keep your finger on the trigger for longer, dealing insane amounts of damage. It pairs perfectly with the Trickster too. Those twisted rounds give you that bonus to weapon damage, and if you can hit your crits, that means you don't have to reload either, meaning that you can keep your crosshair on the target for longer, taking them out with ease. Now the only thing that really lets this weapon down is its relatively slow reload. It's one of the slowest we've seen so far in the video today at 2.7 seconds. So with that being said, there will be times when you'll need cover in order to ensure you can reload your Amber Vault. So there we have it, a quick look at all 10 legendary weapons inside the Outriders demo. As we said at the beginning of the video, there are 46 in total in the final version of the game, so be sure to keep those peepers peeled on the channel for once the final game goes live. Now if you have enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a rating down below. That super helps me out here on the channel. Now if you're new here, I want to keep up to date with all the latest Outriders content. Be sure to hit subscribe as well. I'm going to jump back into the game as always guys, but I will catch you all again very soon.